Okay, this video is going to be interesting for me. I don't know about everybody else. It might be a very specific group of people. But Brett has sent me a Super Nintendo Mini and an NES top loader for RGB mods. And what he wants to do is connect them to an XRGB Mini. And he actually sent it to me for testing. Awesome. I don't know if this Pelican case is part of the deal when you buy one, but this is an expensive case, I'm sure. It is very nice, very rugged, very well padded. Remote, stand, bunch of cushioning. Look at that. There it is. Very, very tiny, very lightweight. I can't imagine that it needs this amazing case. And I don't know, maybe Brett had that made up or something. I don't know. So what we have is a trial on which cord we need to use. It actually looks like they might both be retro console accessory cords, which I do use and prefer and recommend. They have fully shielded cords. So we got multi-out on one end and SCART on another. And this one has raw sync connected. And this one he's marked as composite sync, but I'm assuming that means composite video pin is what's connected on that one. And then of course we have the JAP 21 female connector to the XRGB Mini DIN connector. So what I want to do is test and see if the XRGB Mini works with composite video as the sync signal, or if you have to send composite sync to it. On the Nintendo top loader, I can't really do that, other than I will be sending composite sync through the composite video pin. But on the SNES Mini, it does have actual composite video on the multi-out, so I will be able to test that. And I can also add composite sync back to the multi-out as well as RGB. The RGB restore, I have not yet put that on my website, but I do it. I do offer it. I've just been swamped or also lazy about getting it onto the website. His top loader is already AV modded. Get the light in there. I believe it's composite and mono audio out. Both jacks are loose. They don't even look like they're the same manufacturer of jack. So I'm interested to open that up and see what that's all about. I do not think this is one that I've done, because I rarely do this. I think I've maybe done that once ever. I just don't like it. The hole for the RF jack, the stock hole, is too big for the jacks I use anyway, so you have to put a washer or something in there, which it looks like that's what this guy's done also. And then it's hard to get the other hole for this other jack lined up perfectly. And it's just so much easier to put over here, or to use a TRS jack style mod. So I want to put all this stuff away and test the consoles, and then I'm going to dig into the mods, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to actually start testing with the cords and the XRGB Mini. I better record this one. I'm trying to test the top loader, and I'm getting scrambled data somehow here. Power pack was completely off. And he actually may have mentioned that. Okay, yeah, he does say something about fixing a broken trace. Okay, so hopefully it's just the pin 21 trace that I've seen before is the issue, but we'll find out. Okay, I'm about to open up the top loader here. Let's see, this is definitely not one of mine. Pin 21 is not lifted, but yeah, there is a huge scratch right there next to pin 21. So definitely hope that's it, and an easy fix. That's really strange. He's got two twisted pairs here, but both wires are soldered to the point. Like this would be, this definitely looks like the Games X, where you remove resistor 3 and pull video from maybe the bottom side of resistor 3, but both wires are soldered to that point. And the blue and white would be audio, and then the red here is power. Yeah, there is a little bit of a board in there. Okay. He does have grounds hooked up to both RCA jacks. So that's okay. Been so long since I've done a Games X mod. I couldn't tell you what the circuit, but that's just what, 2 resistors and a transistor. That doesn't sound like the Games X one, really. I wouldn't go to all the hassle of putting those 3 components on a perf board like that, but whatever. So I guess the only reason they even ruined that trace was that maybe they were attempting to lift pin 21 and then gave up, which I'm pretty sure the Games X mod will not work if you lift pin 21. Because I think it picks up video after it's put through Q1. And then you add your own N pin, maybe? Okay, I just got the email back from the owner. He says the Pelican case was bought separately. And then you pull the foam to size. Maybe you might cut the foam to size. Yeah. Curious how much it cost. Really? He gave me a link to Amazon. And it looks like it's about $40 free shipping. That's a hell of a nice case for $40. I mean, when I see that case, I immediately think perfect case for a TurboGrafx Express, PC Engine GT, hell, even PCE LT, Sega Nomad, Game Gear, all that stuff. That is one rough case for $40. Wow. Well, this is all getting ripped out anyway, so I do need to test that trace real quick. On continuity. Yep, it is open. So fix that, pull the PPU, get rid of that junk. Okay, so the trace in front of pin 21 did fix it, and I've got my RGB amplifier board lightly hooked up here to my SCART cord directly into the PVM. So that's all working, and I am feeding composite sync to composite video pin of my SCART cord. So next will be to hook up the XRGB Mini in a couple different ways. Also, I heard from the owner, and he bought the top loader used on eBay, so we don't really know who did the crappy AV mod, but he said he is responsible for that trace being bad. Something I do want to do is test the SCART cords on the current setup. This should be the composite sync, which should be the exact same of what I'm using, so it should work straight away. Yep, it looks fine. I'm very curious to find if the raw sync works like this. I'm going to guess no, but find out here. No, not even a flicker. Huh. Interesting. So what if I send composite sync over from the composite video pin over to the sync pin? It's sort of there. I don't know why it looks so shitty. Maybe it's just that hookup wire. Let's try a different wire, maybe. It could be the composite video pin is hooked to something inside of that SCART cord that we don't know about. That looks the same. Interesting. Kind of makes me want to. Oh, here we go. My ground pin came off the encoder board. So that works. Yep. So, as expected, the raw sync SCART cord has to have sync on composite sync or whatever on the sync pin on the multi-out. So now we'll move on to the Mini. Okay, this might be a bit of a mess to follow, but I do have the raw sync cable, and I do have composite sync to the sync pin, and power's on, HDMI out to HDMI in on the TV, and I still have nothing. I'm not sure why just yet. Let's see. I just use the remote here. That's RGB in. That's supposed to be it. So we have options for output mode, but I don't know. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to try the composite sync cord. Still nothing. Okay, for a quick test, I've got just a regular composite modded top loader going to the composite input on the XRGB Mini, and I do get a picture on the HDMI input of the TV. I don't quite think the colors are right. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera, but I've got a yellow up here. So it's at least know that the XRGB Mini works and my HDMI cord works to the TV. Just can't get the RGB input to work. Okay, I've got the SNES Mini RGB modded, and I have composite sync SCART cord going to the PVM, and it works. Okay, so Plug that into XRGB Mini. Still nothing. And I am hey. All I did was hit the RGB input. It's kind of bright. It works. And let's see, this is composite sync, so it's a composite video being sent to the XRGB Mini. So this does not need raw sync or the raw sync SCART cable. So that's something at least. Oh, that's right, I had it on AV input, composite input when I was testing the top loader. That's why I had to change it. But like Mario's, where he's supposed to be red right here, it looks kind of pink, which it could be something. I was pushing a lot of buttons down here. Let's see, processing modes, standard. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, it doesn't really seem to change a lot on the processing modes. Just kind of curious what all this stuff does. Oh my. Scan lines. Like that. Is that V line? Is that vertical scan lines? It didn't do anything. I'll get back to full screen. There we go. I do like the scan lines. Now they're gone. I could go either way. Maybe on the Nintendo, scan lines would make it more realistic, but for Super Nintendo I'd be okay with no scan lines. Well, I don't have a heatsink on that voltage regulator, so I'm going to turn that off. So the Mini is okay, sounds like, with composite sync SCART cord to the XRGB. So now I just need to figure out why the top loader is not working. By the way, if I hook up the raw sync SCART cord, I get no video, but I do get audio. So, and I do not have raw sync hooked up to the multi-out inside the SNES, but just to be extra sure to test everything, that's what I get. Okay. After asking around a little bit, I have found out what's going on and what's causing all these misfires. The DIN 8 cord, the adapter cord on the Mini, DIN 8, and then the 21 pin. It was wired as Euro SCART. However, it had a built-in sync stripper, and there was a bunch of potting material in there that covered it up to where I couldn't see it right away, which should have been a big clue. The potting material usually isn't in there unless they're trying to hold the chip in place or just cover all its pins. And I've never had a cord like this with a sync stripper built in, so it was kind of new to me. But all I did was go in and was a yellow wire running down to the sync input, and of course that was on the output of the chip, which is pin 1, and I soldered on to pin 2, which is direct wire from, you know, the NES, and it worked. So now what I want to try to figure out is why I can't feed, because I've been trying this, I have not been able to feed sync right from the RGB PPU through all of that, which that should work, I would think, but maybe it has something to do with that pin 21 on my RGB chip is still connected to all of my sync stripping circuit on my PCB. Maybe it's pulling away some of the voltage or amperage or whatever, so I'm going to pull the RGB chip and lift pin 21 so that it's not connected to any of my circuitry, and replace it and hook that back up to sync on the SCART cord. Make sure it's not touching down there. And nothing. Extremely frustrating. But that's what's really holding me up right here, is I don't understand why sync right off of the RGB chip, right through the cords, right into the sync stripper in the head of the DIN 8 adapter cord isn't working. Now maybe now is when I need to really mess with sync levels, which I was trying to do insane. Well, I could turn the sync mode off maybe. Negative. So go all the way down. Sync level, it's on 9 now. I'm not real sure how to adjust all of this properly. So if I put it on 1 and I hit RGB, it makes it reboot. That's how I've been changing it, but that may not be the proper way. I'm not completely sure. And if I just go in here and hit enter, change it, enter, you know, that doesn't seem to do anything either. As far as I can tell, that's not how you change it. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't think that the sync stripper circuit inside of that head is faulty, because it was working with the SNES Mini, which does feed composite video. Let's see. Power. There you go. I didn't change anything, and raw sync is not hooked up into this to the multi-out. This is still outputting composite video to the sync input of the sync stripper on the adapter cord. So I don't know. Apparently we're going to have two different cords for the DIN 8 adapter. I mean, that sucks. I don't want to have to do that. But maybe if we can get a SCART cord for the SNES Mini specifically that has the sync stripper built in, or if I can hook up raw sync to this and use the other cord and then disable the sync stripper in the adapter cord. That's the only thing I can really think of. That raw sync cord didn't work for anything. I don't know, but at least I've made some serious progress here, and I know what's going on, and I can work around it now. Okay, I think I've kind of figured out what I want to do here. This is the DIN 8 adapter cord. There is a bunch of potting material in here because there's actually a sync stripper chip built into the head of this. And here's my pin number 3, which is sync input into the FrameMeister. And what I've done is desoldered it from pin 1. I'm going to solder it to pin 2, which will give it, other than a 0.1 microfarad cap being in there, it'll be directly from composite video or sync whatever from the console right to the input on the FrameMeister. And what I want to know is if the Super Nintendo will work feeding composite video out of this to the sync input of the FrameMeister. Okay, so right now it's using the composite sync SCART cable going right to the PVM, which I've already tested and works, just wanted to double check. And I have my sync line changed. Audio is coming through. But I still have blue screen. And just to make sure, hit RGB. It says RGB. Tried pretty hard. Never seen it do that, but still says no input. So, in my opinion, the best thing I could do so that we could use this cord on both the NES and the SNES is to just put a single pole double throw switch on this so that we can either use or bypass the sync stripper chip without changing a bunch of different stuff like on the consoles or whatever. Okay, so I've put my switch in to bypass the sync stripper. Still using the composite sync cord, and I have sound but still blue screen, so sync is not turned on. And I immediately get black screen. There it is. Now all I need to test is the RGB Nintendo. It might take me a second though. Okay, so I've got my board hooked up back the way I always use it with the LM1881 stripping sync output to the composite pin through the composite sync SCART cord, and change the switch, turn it on, and immediate black screen, and then the game works. So, not the most elegant fix for this problem, but there you have it. The XRGB Mini FrameMeister outputting HDMI to my LCD TV from an RGB modded NES and RGB restored SNES Mini.